Good morning and welcome to the Portakeeper YouTube channel. This morning I have this Pavoni professional Lusso. It's a lever machine that you might have seen in some movies. I see it on espresso boards all the time. It's a really cool small machine. And as I mentioned before, it's been around for over 40 years, I believe. So they've been doing something right for quite a bit of time. Now, this is going to a new owner next week. I got this from Espresso Outlet about a year ago. Haven't been using it much, so I'm going to pass it along to the next owner. And before I did so, I wanted to take a look at the machine itself. So to begin with, I'll kind of go over some of the features of the machine, and then we will pull an espresso shot. To begin with, we have this 51 millimeter portafilter. It is considerably smaller than what you might see on like this rocket that's sitting next to it. This is a 58 millimeter portafilter, and you can tell it is considerably smaller. Now, why do they do smaller diameter or surface area portafilters on these lever machines? Well, there's actually a good reason for it. And that's when you have this big surface area, it's really difficult for something like this lever machine to get a very even extraction across the entire puck. So what they'll do is they will do a slightly smaller portafilter, but it's deeper. And in this case, this machine, it's really designed for about 14 grams, where some of these larger 58 millimeters, you might run about 18 grams. You're going to get a little bit less espresso. You may or may not like that. It actually comes with a single basket as well. And I have not used it because it's already just a little bit on the small end for my likings. But overall, it's a really cool machine, and I think you'll enjoy it if this is your day-to-day. The next feature I'll point out is there is a sight glass on the side, and that shows you about how much water is left in your boil reservoir. So to fill up the tank, you do not want to do this while it is heated up. And you can look at the pressure gauge to know that there is pressure in this tank. If we were to remove this cap, you'd probably get some steam blowing out, and if you were to remove it far enough, you'd probably get burned. So make sure that your machine is off, but not only just off, make sure that it cools down enough to remove this to fill it. I showed you the power button on some of the Euro Piccolos. They are on the side, and it's a more square drip tray. On the Professional, it's in the front. And I actually really like that in the front. I think it looks really cool, and it illuminates. So you get to see the brand where it says La Pavoni. Continuing on, we have the steam control valve on the upper left corner of the machine. Now the steam wand itself is on the right side, and it's this small wand right here. With this machine, it came with an accessory that I want to take a look at later, and it's this automatic milk frothing device. So it's a really cool device. It's probably not for you, this classic traditionalists that want to have full control over it, but essentially what it does is it sucks milk through this hose and it froths it through this plastic device, and then the steam gets injected into it. So kind of a unique device that I have never seen on a home espresso machine like this before. I'm sure this is kind of how some of the industrial machines work. They have a similar device, but this came with both. It lets you do the more traditional steaming if that's what you so choose, or if you want to use this, it looked really easy to use, so we're going to try it out. To get going, I am going to grind 14 grams of coffee, and we are going to prepare a dose. Now that we've ground 14 grams of beans with this Turin DF64, we're going to dose this basket, and this is where it can get a little bit tricky. Since this is a smaller portafilter, it does not really fit into any of the traditional grinder forks or the dosing cups. So usually what I do is I try to just kind of prop it on its side and dose a little at a time. You might use a spoon if that makes less of a mess. I'm hoping not to lose very much because it's already a pretty small espresso dose. And then what I like to do is utilize a small WDT whisk, and I'll probably kind of just pile it in there before I fluff up these grounds. Now, I don't have a funnel for this, so I have to be very careful not to lose any of the grounds. So there we are, it looks pretty good. This kind of goes to my second gripe, and that is the included tamper. And it really, both sides really don't fit this portafilter. The small side seems too small, the big side is too big. So that's a little bit annoying. I would recommend day one, you need to go buy a tamper. I like Reg Barber. I know he makes some very nice espresso tampers for this machine. And then we will try to tamp it. It's not going to be very pretty. At all. But there's our tamp. Clean off the rim, and we will be ready to pull a shot. So another thing about this machine that I find a little bit odd is when you have your portafilter on, let's say this rocket, you start on the left side and you lock it into place in the middle. With this machine, you start in the middle and you rotate it out to the left side. So it just feels a little bit backwards, but there's somewhat of a reason for this, and I'll show you when we brew the shot. So to brew the shot, what we want to do, some people want to do a purge of the water out of the machine because it actually is a little bit too hot. And that's something that if you choose to do, you can go ahead and do. We can use this oversized cappuccino cup and let some of the water come out of the group head. If you haven't preheated your cup, it might be a good way to preheat your cup. So since there is no drip tray on this machine, you can let some of the hot water into your cup prior to brewing it and then toss it out. We have prepped our portafilter, and when we lock it into place, remember I said it's kind of backwards from most of the machines and it sticks out to the side. And there is a reason for this. A lot of people, if you're trying to hold the machine, it gives you a good way to hold the machine as you're operating the lever itself. So let's put our cup in place. I have this double spout, but you are also able to buy this single spout, and I will note that portakeeper.com sells the Type 7 Portakeeper for this machine. It works on both pre-millennium and post-millennium while Pavoni machines. So to get things going, you need to pull up the lever, pull it up pretty slow. And what you're doing is it's taking the pressure of the water in that tank and it's pushing on top of the puck itself. And what we're doing is we're pre-infusing that puck. It's using the boiler pressure to get those grounds on top of the puck wet. And you'll notice the lever will stay all the way up. You'll feel it kind of pulling back down. And then we're going to start to pull the shot. This might be running a little bit fast. And then you'll just want to hold the lever down and you'll get a little bit of resistance or a little bit of springiness, and you'll see it continue to drip after the shot is pulled. Once that lets up, it's going to take a second. What I want to note is I don't remove this portafilter right away. And the reason for that is you will still have a little bit of pressure if you were to take it out right now. The second that you get done brewing the shot, if you did that, it's going to kind of blow some of the grounds around. See how it blew those grounds out? So I like to let it set for, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute. And when I do that, I get a nice espresso puck instead of this mess. So I don't recommend doing that, but I wanted to show you that you can kind of get into trouble if you're just trying to crank out some shots and you pull it out. It might blow some grounds out at you, and it also makes your group head really dirty. And since the perimeter of where this portafilter fits in is very narrow, it's actually pretty difficult to get cleaned out. So usually I stand below my countertop with a towel and I kind of inch it all the way around because I don't have a cleaning tool for this machine. Here is the shot. It needs to probably be ground a little bit finer, run a little bit slower, but you can make some really amazing espresso shots with this machine. That one's really good today. Even though it ran a little bit fast, it tastes amazing. I know I'm going to get questions in the comments. In this DF64, I am using the SSP espresso burrs. You can see my write-up on the Espresso Outlet blog if you want to see the difference between the 3 SSP burrs or the traditional Italmill burrs. So, now if we wanted to make like a cappuccino or a latte, I mentioned before that there is this milk frothing feature that came with this version of my Pavoni. And to install it's very easy. There's a very small set screw on the back, and you use the supplied Allen wrench I screwed it in. You don't really want to screw it out. That way it just stays in the machine. Then you can lift up on the steam wand and pull it off. My machine is hot, so I used a towel to take it off real quick. And to put this one on, simply do the same in reverse and put it in its place. To use, what you need is a pitcher of cold milk. I am just going to use my milk pitcher that I normally use, and we'll put it off to the side. You want cold milk. And then to use it, there is a small knob here and your main steam knob on the left side. You might not want to put this directly into your cup. But there we have just a very basic, in my opinion, kind of cappuccino. It's not going to be the foam that you really want. You're not going to get the latte art like on your traditional nice milk, paint texture milk. So it's really just an easy thing to do if you want to make a nice little milk drink that's pretty simple. Again, I'd recommend kind of purging some of the milk out. I'm going to go dump this milk. Well, before we do that, let's play with it a little bit more. So we're going to turn the steam on. We have this little knob on the back. And it kind of adjusts some of the texture. I mean, it can really crank out some milk if that's what you're wanting to do. Really makes some good like hot chocolate too if you stir it in some chocolate. So here we have a whole cup of steamed milk in pretty short order. Not much to it. I'm going to show you how to clean this. It's actually pretty easy. So at first when I saw this, I wasn't even really sure what it was. And then when I figured out what it was, I was like, man, this thing's going to be kind of difficult to clean. But it really isn't that difficult. They have a little clip to hold your hose up. That way it's not flopping all around. And there's a little bit of milk on mine still. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it into a pitcher that has just kind of warm water in it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do exactly the same as when we froth the milk, except with hot water or warm water. It's a little bit loud, a little bit messy, but that's about all it takes to clean up that device. If you wanted to put your traditional steam one back on, it's as simple as lifting this back up, sliding it, and putting the other one back on. So pretty easy to swap. If you want to keep it on more permanently, you can use the Allen key and back it back off, and it'll prevent it from lifting up off your machine. So to kind of wrap things up, some final thoughts on this Pavoni lever, the professional version. It's a really cool machine. I mean, it looks amazing in your kitchen. If you had friends over, I think they'd be impressed if that's really what you're trying to do. It's really not, in my opinion, a very good day-to-day machine. It takes a little bit of time to heat up, and when it's on, you don't really want to leave it on for hours upon hours like I would some of my other machines. It's pretty much let it heat up, wait for it to heat up, pull your 2 shots, and turn it off for the day. Could you do more than that? Of course. The heat issues with this machine, it can get a little bit hot or not hot enough. So you have some heat balance issues that is just pretty common in all lever machines. It's not really a big deal. I think it's a little bit ugly, but a lot of people put the thermal sticker on here, and as the temperature changes, the temperature or the sticker changes different colors, and that can be very useful for pulling a much better shot with this machine. But it kind of looks ugly. It's something that you might consider if you own one of these. I think for myself, just on the day-to-day, this small portafilter is a little bit annoying. If I own this for long term, new tamper is a must, and maybe look for like a dosing funnel, because it is such a small portafilter. You're pretty much, it's inevitable that you're going to spill some of the grounds. So I'd look for a funnel, get a nice high-end tamper, and that'll be a game changer for this machine and its usability. Stuff that I like, I mean, it looks great. It takes a very small amount of space. I mean, I have this DF64 in the background. It's not a whole lot bigger than that. It's about the size of 2 of those. So counter space, it is very small, very elegant, pretty easy to use. A lot of people, they freak out about the levers and the pressure. If your grind size is pretty much on point, I've not had any problems with making a great shot. I've even done some really amazing bottomless shots with this bottomless portafilter. Now, this did not come with the machine. The machine came with this double spout. I bought this, and it's a really nice little addition. So you might pick up one of those as well. But that's my overall thoughts on the Pavoni. I'd love to keep it. It just needs to move on so that I can review some new gear. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel. I'm going to have some new stuff coming up. Next week I should be getting the DF83, the larger Turin DF64 grinder. It has 83mm burrs. It's really highly anticipated, so make sure to subscribe. And as soon as I get it, I'm going to be posting an unboxing video and some of my first shots and initial thoughts. Again, I bought this from Espresso Outlet, so give him a shout. He has a lot of great stuff, and he's a really great guy. So thanks for watching.